Vigil, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
Sean Payton just tell us how the Broncos are going to approach the trade deadline? I personally think so. We'll ask the man sitting next to me, James Merilatt. It is a Merilatt Monday. How are you?
I'm great, Rachel. How are you?
Good. Have you heard Sean Payton, what he said this morning?
I saw your clip online about it, but I haven't heard what he said. So you're going to have to enlighten me.
He said, Superman isn't coming in that door. Something around that nature. I don't want to directly quote him.
Which, I kind of get what he's saying. They're not going to make a move that's going to bring in somebody that's going to be
save the season,
a huge difference maker.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean they can't add some pieces and add a guy or two that would help, though.
Okay. I think that means they're not going to be buyers. I think they're going to be more sellers, if anything, which will be interesting. I agree. I'm not big on the selling concept.
No.
But I do think that they're going to be more sellers than buyers.
Well, I think they should be buyers. I think they should be buyers with a couple caveats, right? Like, if you're a Super Bowl contender, you're in the market for a rent-a-player.
Yep.
You'll trade for a guy that's his contract expires at the end of the year. You're just getting him for 7 weeks or whatever the case may be.
What the Ravens just did.
Right. The Broncos they're not in that boat. They're not a Super Bowl contender, but they do have a chance to make the playoffs, something they haven't done since 2015.
Yeah.
Been almost a decade. I think you owe it to everybody in the building.
Wait, when you say it that way.
I know.
Oh my gosh,
that's what I'm
crazy.
Saying. Almost a decade. You owe it to the fan base to try to make a playoff run. I don't care if they get in as the 7th seed and they lose 47-7. I really don't care. It still would be a massive success. It would be a big step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you need to be a buyer if you can get a guy who's got time left on his deal beyond this year. Because then you're not just giving up a 4th-round pick for 7 weeks. You're giving up a 4th-round pick for a guy who's going to be here next year too.
Mm-hmm.
And he's solving or partially solving some of your problems of skill position guys.
Yeah.
Right now you don't have to draft one. Now you don't have to at least another one. You don't have to sign another one in free agency. Like it starts to solve some of your offseason problems right now. That would make sense. If they're sellers, they got a chance.
Browning, you say keep him.
Yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing. Unless somebody comes in and says, and this isn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody comes in and says, hey, I'll give you a 2nd-round pick for Baron Browning.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
See ya.
But that ain't happening, right? They're going to get a day 3 pick. You can't replace Baron Browning with a day 3 pick. He's a fine player, but you're not going to get a guy in the 6th round that's likely going to come fill his shoes. So, like you look back on some of the guys that they've fire sailed, right? Whether it was Vaughn or DT or Emmanuel or whatever. Like, what did they get for those picks? Nothing. They got a bunch of day 3 picks that didn't turn into squat.
Okay, so then let's think long-term real quick. In my mind, the reason you go for draft picks, and trust me, I'm not a big draft girl. Like, I'm not like, we need as many picks as possible. But you're not making the Super Bowl this year. Say
Correct.
You do trade Baron Browning, you get a 3rd-round pick for him, whatever.
You
have a guy just 3rd-round pick. That's your.
It's day 2.
Okay. One way or another, you take it. But if you do happen to become a playoff or Super Bowl contender in 2-3 years, that guy's younger. He's gone through the system already. Baron Browning's probably going to be out of his prime at that point.
Well, here's the thing. Like, to me, day 1, obviously just 1st round, day 2, 2nd round, and 3rd round. Those are players that should become starters. Probably should be starters their rookie year.
Yep.
Right? So, like, if you can trade Baron Browning for a pick that is going to turn into a starter.
Let's say 4th round then.
No. To me, that's the line, right? It's got to be day 1 or day 2. Because anything after that, you're picking a guy that you hope makes the roster. Like, look at the late round picks from this year. Like Devon Vele, he's been okay. He's been fine.
Okay.
Is he just? Well, let's not act like he's Justin Jefferson.
Second best wide receiver right now.
Well, somebody's got to be. Hell, the best receiver on the team might be Bo Nix.
I know.
I mean,
his catch was incredible.
It's just you're going to get a guy that is going to probably make the roster as a rookie, a day 3 pick, because they want to see what they have in him.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's by his 2nd year, it's like, maybe he makes it, maybe he doesn't. By his 3rd year, he's probably gone. I'm not giving up a guy who we know what we get out of him for a maybe. A day 1 and a day 2 pick should be beyond a maybe. If you know what you're doing in the draft, they should be beyond a maybe. So, no, I'm not doing it.
Okay. If they do sell tomorrow, who do you think they sell?
Probably one of the pass rushers, probably Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning. It's like, because I don't know that they're going to want to pay them. So they're getting something in return rather than seeing them walk for nothing.
Yeah.
Which I guess you can make the argument of like, well, okay, well, that's smart. You know, you don't want to just get nothing for them. But what you're getting isn't much more than nothing to me. And those guys can help you end a long streak of losing seasons and non-playoff seasons. Yeah. I think that's more important than getting a 5th round pick.
Okay. Can we both finally agree that Bo is the guy?
No.
Oh my James, you cannot watch.
They lost 41-10.
Who cares?
Their only touchdown came on a trick play.
Did we both agree that they were going to lose this game?
Yes.
Okay, so the defense was way more upsetting than the offense was.
Correct.
You cannot tell me after
they scored
watching
10 points.
After watching what he did yesterday.
What?
How
230 yards?
Quick question. How many times did the wide receivers drop the ball?
Oh, like they never dropped the ball for us, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Never
We're not
happened.
even comparing.
Never happened.
We're not even comparing
I
that.
mean, wait a minute.
My Lanta.
Rachel, you come in after they lose 41-10 and you're ready to plant your flag on Bo Nix?
Yes.
Oh my God. Did he throw for 380
okay, wait,
and I missed it?
We somehow get a poll
His quarterback
going?
rating was like 50.
Are you watching what you watched yesterday in the first half specifically? You could not sit there and tell me this guy can play football.
Well, they did score 10 points in the first half, which is better than the 0 they scored after halftime.
Quick question. What was your tweet about? I'm going to pull up Twitter real quick. Hold on.
I mean,
I'll leave everything you tweeted about yesterday was about Sean Payton.
Bo Nix played fine. He certainly didn't establish that he's the guy. Oh my gosh. I need the people in the comments to help me. I don't understand what game you watched.
He passed the eye test yesterday. You cannot tell me he did not.
I said on the morning show today, I thought I was impressed by the fact he didn't seem overwhelmed by the situation on the road against a good team. People act like the Ravens. I mean, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo talking about, the Ravens and this offense, how you slow it down. They've lost 3 games. They're 5-3. Clearly, somebody can slow them down.
It felt like the Ravens beat themselves at times.
Okay, well, man, I don't know what we saw yesterday that makes us say Bo Nix is the guy. I didn't see anything that made me say he's not going to be the guy. I didn't. I don't think he was awful. I'm not saying that because that's how it's going to get misconstrued. But he didn't do jack squat to make me say, yeah, he's definitely the answer. They lost 41-10.
The first half of the game, once things got out of control. I'm
going to bang my head against this marble table.
I want to squeeze your head and just make it pop because you're driving me nuts.
What are we talking about?
Why can't you get on board with him? What is
it about? They scored 10 points.
How many times did we see wide receiver drops? Truthfully, how many times did the one thing I will say, it was on the 4th down play. Bo called the audible, and I mean, they ran back 3 yards when they needed 1, and that was just ridiculous. Bad on Bo on that front. But how many times were we talking about Sean Payton play call? Why did we do this?
Listen, I don't think Sean Payton was good at all. I thought the way they handled the end of the first half was terrible.
Agreed.
And that's not being a Monday morning quarterback. Tony Romo was saying it at the time of you have to burn the clock here. You don't want to give the ball back to the Ravens. Because they get the ball to start the second half. And sure enough, they give it back to them with a little over a minute left.
Boom, go down.
Touchdown, then touchdown after the half. We go 3 and out, then another touchdown. Broncos ran 3 plays other than the kneel down. 3 plays and went from 17-10 to 38-10. That's the game.
I'm pulling up the play-by-play real quick.
That's the game. But it was I don't think Bo Nix was the problem yesterday. I don't.
Absolutely not.
But I also don't think he was the solution. I don't think he was the answer.
Okay.
He was fine. He was okay. They scored 10 points.
But again,
my voice keeps going up another octave every time I say it because I just can't believe that out of a 41-10 loss, you're coming out ready to proclaim that you've got the answer. A week ago, we didn't know. Now you know?
Yeah. He looked so much better than I thought he was going to look, especially in the first. Once things got out of hand in the second half, it was we're just trying to garbage time, right? But I thought it was kind of essentially how we looked at the Panthers game, where it was
if not for a trick play, they score 3 points.
No, the trick play worked. You want a quarterback that'll go in there and
right-handed Tebow made a nice catch. He did.
Honestly, you have to. The fact that he goes for it, I do appreciate that.
I loved it. I thought that was great. But
I'm trying to get to the play-by-play real quick.
I think he's a good football player. I'm not sure he's a good quarterback.
Was the interception on him?
No.
Perfect. Not on him. We can agree on that. Let's see. We went 11 plays in the second possession.
I mean, I don't know. You rifle at somebody from 4 yards away, maybe it's a little bit on you, but no, I mean, he's a professional receiver. Catch the football.
I guess from our Denver Sports Daily show this morning, everybody and their mother was talking about if little Jordan Humphreys should be getting as many snaps, and he's like enemy number one right now. Are you looking at him to utilize him this week, or do you say, okay, we got to limit what we're doing with you?
I mean, I guess it goes back to, well, who's going to get those snaps instead of him, right? Like they're limited in terms of who they have skill position guys. They don't have a lot of weapons that scare you.
Yep.
Little Jordan Humphrey doesn't scare you. I get it. But is it more for Vele? Is it more for Franklin? I mean, Marvin Mims ran a route. And again, this is something Tony Romo showed where he just ran the route wrong. Like Bo threw it where the ball was supposed to go.
Yeah.
And Marvin, ran it and it ran the route incorrectly. And so therefore it was an incompletion. Listen, I don't think Bo got a ton of help yesterday, but what else is new? I mean, I've been saying that for 2 years. But we go down to training camp and all we hear about is like, oh man, how are they going to decide which of these receivers to keep? What do you mean? Which 4 or which 5 they want to keep? Like the people act like they got just a stable of Justin Jeffersons down there. Like, oh man, how they got some tough decisions to make a running back. Like Blake Watson might not have to make this team. Yeah, he ends up getting cut. And where's he now?
Fair.
I mean, just the overvaluation of some of the guys on this roster, which now includes the quarterback by one Rachel Vigil, is preposterous.
Okay, listen, I'm just saying the comments are agreeing way more with me than they are with you right now.
Of course they are. Because people are delusional. I mean, they got their orange-colored glasses on. Like, if they'd have won 41-10 in Baltimore and I came in here and you're like, hey, I think we got the answer. Sure. They lost 41-10.
What do you grade the defense yesterday?
An F.
Perfect. What do you grade the offense?
A D. How many games are you going to win scoring 10 points? The defense could have been an A and they still
What do you
lose.
grade Bo Nix?
He was a C. He was
the best part of the team.
Sure.
He was the best part of the team yesterday.
Sure.
Perfect. That's good to know that the rookie QB was the best part of the Denver Broncos game against the Baltimore Ravens, a team that could possibly go on to win the Super Bowl, but everyone else around him seems to be failing. And yet Bo Nix can't be the guy?
Just because he was the best guy on a bad team doesn't mean he's the guy. He was the best guy on a bad team yesterday. Well, I don't know if he was the best guy. He was fine yesterday.
Give me one other name that was a better.
I don't know. Nick Benito flies around. That guy's all over the field.
Can we talk about that? Should have been a sack.
Yeah, it should have been.
That was some baloney right there.
Yeah, that should have been. But, I mean, he flies around. He's all over the place.
How many times did they sack Lamar Jackson? We're counting that one, so we can say
he's a tough guy to sack. I mean,
Agreed.
I'm not gonna give him too much grief for that. Listen, it was a bad performance all the way around. I do think just based on the circumstances and the fourth downs they went for, the 10 points is a little bit misleading because they did move the ball better than a 10-point game. But he wasn't. But you act like he was great.
He wasn't great, but he was better than expected. That should tell you enough that in a bad game by everybody else on the team, that he can be the guy. Imagine when he does have better players around him. He can be the guy.
Oh, okay, but if you surround a mediocre quarterback with Brock Purdy's a prime example. I think Brock Purdy is a definition of mediocre.
Okay.
But
fair.
He's got all that talent around him, and all of a sudden he looks pretty good. Like, yeah, if you put Bo Nix in San Francisco when they're healthy, right? When Christian's back and Brandon Ayuk's back and all that, like he would probably look fine. That doesn't mean he's a great quarterback.
So what would you need to see?
Quarterback of the future has to be somebody who's great.
What do you need to see from Bo Nix with the roster he has right now that says he can be the franchise quarterback?
With the roster he has right now?
Yep. That's all we got. Because you're either going to keep him for the next 2 years or you're going to look for the draft again. So what needs to tell you he can be the guy?
I need to see him make some clutch plays against some good teams. Like, I don't care that you can go beat the crap out of the Panthers and the Saints.
Agreed.
Those two teams are awful. Awful.
Okay.
So all the people who were mad at me a week ago when I said they're the best JV team in the league, they are. Yesterday was varsity versus JV, right?
Agreed.
So they're the best bad team. I'm not overreacting to yesterday's loss. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. All they got to do is beat teams like the Browns and the Colts and the Raiders and some of the garbage that is on their schedule. So they're going to be fine. They're going to lose to the Chiefs. Let's not panic about that one either. I think the swing game that could determine the season is following that. It's the Falcons back here.
Scheisse.
The Falcons.
Breaking news.
So what do we got?
Trade alert, Baron Browning to the Cardinals.
For
a 6th rounder.
That's my point.
That's
what are
bad.
we doing?
That is bad.
What on earth are they doing?
That is
totally
terrible.
A salary dump. They don't want to have to sign him and pay him money. So they're like, well, we'll get a 6th-round pick for a guy that's going to walk at the end of the year.
Yep. That's actually terrible.
Okay. Then they're not trying to win this year.
Agreed.
They're not trying to end the streak, which is disappointing.
But I think we knew that even from the game yesterday of like Sean Payton knew how far off the Broncos were from where the Ravens were. That's why we saw for them going for it on 4th down. Like it was that gap that they were trying to close by having some sort of play, right? Like if you're an actual contender with the Ravens, you're not looking at the 3rd down plays or the 4th down plays being like, we got to go for it on this one. We're punting the ball.
Yeah, it was and I don't have a problem with it actually. Like I thought Sean Payton had a bad day, but I don't know that the 4th down calls or maybe the play calls were bad, but the decisions weren't necessarily bad.
I like the idea to be aggressive.
Yeah, you got to, if you punt the ball back to Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and that crew, that's just asking for problems. Like you need to do everything you can to make every time you have the ball a scoring drive. So they weren't going to, I don't think they were going to go in and win that game by being conservative. I just don't. Now, obviously they were aggressive and it didn't work either. I just don't know that it would have mattered. I don't know that punting the ball away in those circumstances would have done the trick. So I don't have an issue with the aggressive decisions. I have an issue with some of the aggressive some of the play calls they had during those aggressive moments. The first one, though, the fact that Javonte Williams couldn't get a foot when it looked like when he got the pitch, he was going to stroll to the 1st down.
I am shocked that nobody else is talking about with the Broncos trade deadline for them to go for a running back. Everyone's talking tight end and wide receiver. What are we doing at the running back position? I want Javonte to succeed so bad. Don't get me wrong, but it's not happening.
It's not a feel-good league, right?
No.
Like it's a great story, and we talked about it last year. It was amazing that he was back on the field.
Absolutely,
and he deserves a ton of credit. Similar to Cortland Sutton a couple of years ago. Like, man, he's not 100%. He's not all the way back, but kudos to him for going out there and putting himself in harm's way. But at some point, it's a production-based business, and Javonte Williams just isn't producing. And that play right there is the epitome of it. Like, if you have a competent NFL running back, you're moving the chains there and the drive continues. So that was on the personnel. So yeah, they need a running back. They need to upgrade that position. And I love it's Audric Estime. Like he's going to be the answer. I mean, it's just that's an eye roll, but that's the kind of guy that you're going to get in the late rounds. That's the kind of guy that they're going to get with this pick they got for Baron Browning. Do I think Baron Browning's a great player? I don't. Their defense is worse right now than it was yesterday, though. Without Baron Browning, he's not an addition by subtraction guy. Like he's not a bad guy, at least by all accounts. So he can do. He's semi-productive, has a hard time staying healthy. I think he's got some upside. Arizona's, thinking they got a shot to win that division, so they're adding pieces with the exact same record. The Broncos are dumping guys. I think that's a troubling sign. That
6th-round pick is offensive.
That should have everybody in Broncos country upset. Like, really, guys, we've been buying tickets for a decade watching this garbage, watching a team that hasn't sniffed the playoffs, and now that they're in a position where, hey, if we just beat the bad teams on our schedule, we're going to be in the mix. And if we pull one upset, it's a team that definitely could be we'll be a playoff team, and they're dumping guys for 6th-round picks.
That is a little bit offensive. I'm not going to lie. Like that, a 5th round, I would have been like, okay, I can kind of see it. And that's still bad. But like,
you're going to get in the comments, Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. Terrell Davis was a 6th-round pick. Like, yeah, the aberration. Terrell Davis, it was 30 years ago.
Can you tell me the 6th-round pick for 5 years ago?
No.
Exactly.
So like for every 6th-round pick that hits, you have 29 of them who turn out to be a guy who lasts 2 years. So I just think that's the return that they got didn't make it worth. I mean, it's exactly what we talked about at the start of the show. Day 1, day 2, which they weren't going to get. I understand that clearly.
I don't think they have anybody who you could get a day 1 or day 2. Well, day one for sure, but day two,
You
like
don't think they
second
could get a
round.
day one or day two for your franchise quarterback?
Listen, I'm just saying the future looks brighter than it did with all of the rotation of quarterbacks we've had, including your boy Russ. Because
no, here's the thing. And I replied to somebody, people don't get this. Like the comparison of Bo Nix and Russell Wilson. For this to be the right move, Bo Nix has to be better than Russell Wilson, Brock Bowers, and whatever they could have signed with the $20 million in cap savings they would have had this year had they not had it go from 30 whatever to 53.
Mm-hmm.
So Bo Nix isn't better than Russell Wilson. He's certainly not better than Russell Wilson, Brock Bowers, and $20 million worth of players. And that's the argument. That's the argument. And people just don't see that.
I'm trying to word my response so that I don't get myself in a hole here. I definitely see your point on that, but I think you also have to look at the long term. Like, right?
Listen,
Russ?
I just turned 51 years old. I don't got a lot of long term. I mean, I'm at that age now where, just glad you have today. That's where I'm at. Okay. That's where I'm at. So I'm not worried about, 2028. Who cares?
Okay.
Go win now.
This is taking a
win
turn.
now. That's what I want.
Okay. But unfortunately, the quarterback with Russell Wilson and the relationship with Sean Payton, I'm going to sound like Cecil Lammey here. If you watch Orange and Blue today, he always says fit.
Then fire
fit.
the coach.
The fit was not it.
Fire the coach. There's no salary cap for coaches. You can pay as many of them as you want. And they got money to burn down there.
But then you're just a rotation of different cuts.
You hired the wrong guy.
You
knew who your quarterback was. You knew the commitment you had made to him. You needed to bring in somebody who could make it work with Russell Wilson. That was the initial mistake.
I also think one of the mistakes that it came down to Russ, it's funny how for the rest of forever, it feels like Russell Wilson's always going to have a part of some show. But also, I think the Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson era set them up for failure because he had so much freedom that it became like once you give the freedom, you can't really take it back, right?
Yeah, that's tough.
And in the locker room, I think that it was a bit more divided than people like to say. And ownership saw that. And keeping Russ was like, we can never bring it back to like hardcore what it is now with Sean Payton.
Maybe. And they certainly, it wasn't just Russ. They purged that roster of a lot of veterans. Justin Simmons, Josie Jewell, Kareem Jackson. And I don't know that individually any of them are bad guys, right? Like nobody would say Justin Simmons is a bad guy.
Absolutely not.
Kareem didn't have that reputation. Josie certainly didn't have it.
Yep.
I don't think Russ is a bad guy. You look at him on the sidelines in Pittsburgh and he seems to get along with his teammates great.
But Mike Tomlin was there. There was already structure set.
Right.
I think that the Nathaniel Hackett, that made it unfortunately unable to work.
Yeah, and it was one of those of like there'd been so much losing, you kind of had to purge the roster of anybody who'd been a part of a lot of it. Like Justin Simmons. Did they have all these losing seasons because of Justin Simmons? No, but he certainly didn't help prevent it.
Yeah.
So I think it was time to move on. So I think they would have been much better off not going down that path. I hope you're right and that Bo Nix turns out to be a franchise quarterback. Do I feel better about it today than I did at the start of training camp? Yes. Am I 100% sure he's the guy?
Hallelujah.
No.
Oh, boy.
I'm not. I'm not 100% sure.
In case you missed it and you're just tuning in because of the Baron Browning trade, James and I are not agreeing on that we believe Bo Nix can be the franchise quarterback. I'm saying yes. What I saw yesterday makes me believe that, yes, he can be that guy or he is that guy. James, on the other hand, is saying not yet.
I'm not ready to come out of a 41-10 loss and proclaim the quarterback the answer.
But we both agree that trading Baron Browning for a 6th-round pick was offensive 100%. Is there anybody else, now that we've already seen them answer the phone, that you do think will be gone by tomorrow?
No.
You think that was their move?
And I saw Andrew Mason tweet this earlier today, and I think he's on the money. I don't think a lot of teams in the NFL are just clamoring to get guys off a 5-4 roster.
Yep.
Which was the same point you and I had at the beginning of the year during training camp when people were talking about the cutdowns. It's like, oh, there's no way they can sneak this guy through the practice squad. It's like, really? If you can't make this roster, why on earth would anybody else be thinking we got to go get that guy?
Yep.
So, no, I don't think there's anybody else that they're going to move. I think they had to probably make a decision, Jonathan Cooper or Baron Browning. Now they've made their decision. Jonathan Cooper is the guy that's going to be here.
Good move, personally. If there was one guy that needed to peace out, I'm glad that it was Baron Browning.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what kind of money he gets, because clearly they just had decided we're not going to pay him. And if we're not going to pay him, we might as well get something for him. I just think, though, having him here on the roster for the last 7 games as you try to make the playoffs would have been more useful than the last 8 games, than getting a 6th-round pick for him. I just think that's silly.
Well, we'll see what Sean Payton has to do. James, I appreciate you always for the laughs, for the conversations, for the big deep breaths I have to take. But the people love us, my friend. I appreciate you as always. And to all of you guys in the comments, thank you so much. Thank you for agreeing with me on this one. I do appreciate it. We'll see what the viewers on social media have to say, because that will definitely be a clip coming. Broncos trade Baron Browning for a 6th-round pick. Let us know how you feel in the comments as well. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful Monday. Bye, everybody.